And this is why you start to see so many men feel pulling away. I'm 52 years old, and it used to be honorable to be a stepfather back those days. But
I
is there
agree.
any? But is there? But you got to ask today: is there any honor being a stepfather?
No.
And that's not because men don't want to be honored. It all starts with what is it? A community can rise no higher than the moral position of its women. Well, what is the moral position of our women, and the what is the view of our women towards our men? It's not like men don't want to deal with kids, or men don't want to deal with ungrateful women or entitled women, or feel like they're just getting something, doing something out of nothing. That's not how it's always been. We're old enough to remember when we used to have a community, but it starts at how the women look at the men. So how do you do that? Um, One, you start with the women and the father you have. What's the relationship with the single mother and the father of the child? Is it one of being honest? And more often than not, we find that it's really not. Is the father's side ever really told? Most children find out the father's side far too late. There's going to be a lot of accountability on the mother because the mother was going to have to, because let's just say we had ready mentors. Let's say we had ready mentors for these young children, young men in particular. Would women be willing to compensate the men who were not tied to these kids?
I talked
See,
about
we
that
have to
a
put some
lot.
value into what we have to put some value into it. So if you're a single mother and you have boys and you want me and wealth engineering to tutor and such and so forth, because you'll often get coaching and stuff like that in sports because men like sports and they don't mind passing on. But if you want engineering and math passed on, you're going to have to do more than pass a plate, pay. But see, then you start looking at, well, is it worth it? I think ultimately what men want is to see women revere what a man is beyond a paycheck. Because black men are according to the data, the most involved or more involved fathers than any. And because we're raised in a community where we're more accustomed to listening to our women, we're easier to get along with than a lot of guys raised in a more patriarchal world. So you have an opportunity, but you have to be able to meet the men where at what the men want. You have to be willing to give the men what they're asking for. And far too often, a lot of men feel like women are saying, "All right, I'm in this situation. Understand my plight. Understand how I got here." And it's like, well, okay, then what's in it for the men? I think it would be fair for the women to try to understand what the men want and make it to the men's benefit. Because if not, you're the only group of women standing up in not I don't say standing in opposition, but standing so far apart from their men. It's not for men to make any more moves towards women. Women have to make moves towards men. Lastly, I said it last year the gender war is over. After a war is over, there's a winner and a loser. Okay? Women lost. 26% marital rate in the black community. 8 out of 10 children, eight out of 10 kids being born out of wedlock. Women, you lost. So you have to sit down at the table first and admit defeat with your mouth, and then admit defeat with your actions, or else what other group of men are you going to build with? And if you can't humble yourselves to understand that your men are more valuable than just in the bedroom and at the bank, who's going to replace us? Because that's the core of the community, the nuclear family. And marital filings were up in every community in 2019 and 2020, except for ours, they were down.
So with that, Mr. Samuels, like I try not to focus on the chat, but I do like to see what people think, right? So even as you speak, there are men saying, "Don't be the cleanup man," XYZ. Me personally, I have never looked for a cleanup man. More than anything, I wanted positive role models for my sons because I can't teach my sons how to be men because I'm not a man. But when I come to certain spaces, and this is not for everybody, but in general, the sentiments that I see are, like you said, men who want to feel appreciated. So amongst a lot of these people, I don't see any man, or I haven't in the past few days. I haven't seen any man say, "Hey, I ain't set up to be a stepfather, but I don't mind mentoring." Because I understand everybody don't want to take on other people's kids. And so it's not even about that for me, but there are some men who want to forsake this community, get the bag, haul ass, but don't want to pour back. And it's not because they owe per se, but esoterically speaking, spiritually speaking, we are still connected people. So how do I fit in? Because I'll be in the chat and I can be like the guy says right now, not our job, just Jay. But then we talk about the community. Like, I don't know. I do have a lot of pride. I got a 20-year old and I
Well,
got a 40-year-old. So
Okay.
admit it. I opened my
Well,
legs, I had kids. What
okay.
now?
Okay. You're listening to the men say not to clean up. I don't want to be a cleanup man. Then y'all got to fix that. Women who share your reflection. Hold on. Let me just finish. You got to understand where that comes from. Because what you're saying is you don't see men, you're seeing more men who saying don't be the cleanup man. But what you're not seeing is men set up saying, I want to be stepfathers. Well, that ain't their job. Y'all need to make it to where it's appealing to men to do anything for you other because what you're doing is basically men have seen women, like it or not, do what's in their best interest. That's where a lot of men feel. And if you want men to do anything, you have to incent them to do it, like every other group of women. Instead of saying, well, he's not doing it, and we're waiting for men to do it. No, 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 no. You lost. You do it. You go start talk to your female friends, your female content creators, Madame Noir, Shade Room. Make it better for men. Make it to where men want to be the cleanup man. Make it to where men want to do something. Stop looking for men to all of a sudden do the very thing that men are saying they're not going to do because they didn't see it benefit their fathers, their stepfathers. They're not seeing it benefit anybody. It's not for the men to fix. It's for you guys to fix. Because it's ultimately you're not going to ice skate uphill. You're not going to get a group of men to do something that's not in their best interest if they don't have to.